Hey, Dave, thanks for doing this. Just got good news on Brandon Tanev's surgery and rehab. Should be back in time for next season.
Yeah.
Your immediate reaction, and if you gotten the sense of how these guys have stayed with them emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a real positive that everything went well with the surgery. Now obviously there's a lot of work ahead for Brandon, but as you've come to see on the ice and the way he works and prepares, he's going to do all the work necessary, as he goes through his rehab here. And it's interesting. You ask about the support of teammates, and the importance of that. It is really important because it's a long time, and as you go through, especially a season-ending injury, that can weigh a little bit more heavily on you. And I know guys will take care of Turbo in that way, and he'll have a ton of support.
Jeff.
Hi, Dave. With the Ottawa cancellation later this week, it means you're only going to play about a handful of games within a 3.5-week or almost a 4-week span. I'm just wondering what the challenges are for you as a coach, trying to simulate some of that game action in practice. I mean, it's great you get to have extra practices, but you don't get the benefit of those live games to see guys in actual competition. I'm wondering how you go about simulating that at your practices going forward.
Yeah, Jeff. I'm going to try not to wind all over the place here. We have to find the positives in it. And that's obviously it can be frustrating mid-season to have this large of a break. But as I look back over the last month, we've had a lot of stop and go. There's been a lot of days where there's been some indecision, some days where we've stayed away from the rink, due to some of, the threat of COVID and things like that. So, in reality, we really haven't had a ton of good practice time, over the last month, as we've come through the Christmas break and other things. So we have to really grasp that and take advantage of this week and have great quality practices. It's not the same as game action. There's, we got to minimize, the effect as we get back into a game a week from now. But we have to do that by having great practices. This will give us an ability to get up and down the rink and skate a lot in practice, to execute in practice, to touch on some things that we haven't been able to touch on over the last month. And one of the biggest benefits for us that I believe we can use it for is just to clear our minds, get our thought process square and straight, and really get to work over the next few days as a group here in practice.
Andy,
Hey, Dave, with this week off, is there anything specific that you're looking to tune up or fix, or is this almost like a little mini camp? And can this week together practicing kind of bond the team even more?
Well, it's one of the things, Andy, that I just mentioned, like getting our minds straight. That's very, very important for us. We've had a couple great efforts, against Philly, against Calgary on the back-to-back against a fresh team. And then we came out, we were really sluggish on the third night. And that's, so that's the biggest, one of the biggest and first things. We got to make sure that we clear the deck mentally and get back to work here. There's a number of things that we want to touch on, and that this gives us the opportunity, to take the time to do that. But first and foremost, it just starts with that, making sure, our minds are in the right places. We continue to be a tight and a close group, working hard for one another and playing hard for one another.
Ryan Clark.
Hey, Dave, I mean, you had plenty of weeks in college where you would go several days between games. I mean, is this a little bit of a similar thing where you use that time to maybe do some of the same things where you just work on things with guys, or how is it different in the structure of an NHL environment compared to what you had in college?
Well, it's different that guys aren't used to this. This isn't it's not a normal aspect in the middle of an NHL season. But that being said, obviously we found out, the Ottawa game was going to be postponed, a couple of hours ago. Before that, we had a real specific 3-day plan, between now and the Ottawa game on Thursday, of things that we wanted to touch on, and the way we wanted to operate. We'll alter that plan. Obviously we add a few days to it. and, have the opportunity, like you said, just to, to make a lot of, use of this time, just, make sure it's quality practice time. And, again, I've touched on a few of the things, both mentally and physically, the benefits that can be there for our group.
Darren Brown.
Hey, Dave, I know Lausanne is obviously out on COVID protocol right now. I thought he had, me speaking personally, I thought he had a couple of his best games before that happened.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could just kind of comment a little bit on his progression this season and what you've seen from him.
Yeah, Losey's become a real, he's such a driver for us competitively. And, as you watch him defend, he's at his best when he's playing confidently, closing hard and closing heavy and in a with some physicality. And he's becoming more and more consistent in that role. Along with that, interestingly enough, we put him on the right side, through, I think it was probably 2 or 3 games in a row. And he played really well over there. His puck play was simple. That's, to me, that's carried over into his last, couple of games, coming back out here after the Christmas break. So, ton of real good positive things there. He's a worker, he's a competitor. And, we missed him on, I'm sorry, I don't know the days, on Saturday night.
Mike Benton.
Dave, with the landscape still changing this week with scheduling, bodies in, bodies out, and touching on things that you're hoping to accomplish, you've been very adamant for praise for your veterans. In what ways do they set the example with the landscape still changing this week?
Different ways in different times, right? We've had these discussions since the first day of training camp. Whether it's through smooth waters and good times, or through some tougher times. And right now it's you add on the break here to the fact that points have been tough to come by for us, and there's some frustration there in our completion of games and being able to close out games and walk away with points. So just perspective, and being a real good pro, and sometimes it's not really what you say, it's what you do. And right now I believe that's the most important things for our veterans. There's not a whole lot that needs to be said. We've all got to lead by going out and showing in our actions the care and the work ethic and the togetherness that's a big part of our hockey team.
We have time for one more here. Andy Ide.
Yeah, Dave, I was curious about the taxi squad, that situation. I know you got those guys some reps today. How important is it that you find a way to get them into the mix in practice in case they have to come in and play?
Yeah, Andy, that's a good question. There's different ways to be able to, to try to handle this, the players that are on the taxi squad. My belief is, to have those players involved in practice as much as possible. There may come a time where we separate for a day or two along the way, but right now I believe it's important to have everybody involved in the same practice, even if the reps aren't there in practice. You're seeing the same things, the same points of emphasis that we're working on in practice, even if you're not in the drills as often as you normally would be. At least you're seeing them and understanding them. And then before and after practice, you're getting some of the individual touches and some of the individual reps, that maybe you miss out on during the practice.